Hey there, everybody. Hope you're having a good day in your little corner of the world. Been having a pretty good day myself. You know how they say that when somebody else is talking, we should try to listen more than think about what we're going to respond to that person. And there's an element that I believe is true because there has to be a person actually paying attention to the other person's response or their argument or what they have to say about X, Y, and Z. You have to be receptive to receive that information, right? So you have to listen. So listening is all about receptivity and being able to open your mind to another person's mind. And I believe that that's important, but I also believe that it's equally important to be able to feel confident enough to say what you have to say. At least for myself, and I can only speak from my subjective experience, it seems like I do listen, but I'm afraid to speak out on what I believe in. Maybe it's a rebuttal to the other person's argument, or maybe I'm disagreeing with the person, or maybe I have something to add. But sometimes I stay quiet because I don't know if what I will say will be the right thing, or if I'm going to irritate the person, or if it's going to rock the boat in any way. So I keep quiet. And I think part of good communication is, yes, being able to listen and receive the information, and also being open to the other person's mind, opening yourself up to the other person's mind, to their world. Yes, that's important. But also being able to share your own mind with the world is equally important, and being able to feel confident enough to do that and express your truth is fundamental for somebody that's trying to actualize themselves, right? And I find that for me, it's kind of hard to say what I have to say when I have to say it, because I overthink things and I don't want to say the wrong things, or I don't want to feel stupid. And I guess these videos have been great exercises for me to not really care about sounding stupid, because first of all, I'm not doing it for monetary reasons, and I'm also not doing this to gain some type of recognition or something. I'm doing this for myself and to have a place to put out or archive videos. And I guess I do have the option of making them private and just having all these videos for myself, but I do find that I've seen a couple of YouTubers here and there. I don't really spend time too much on YouTube, but I've run into a couple of YouTubers that just speak their mind without expecting anything in return, like financial gain, or they're not selling you anything, or they're not trying to gain anything by putting something out there. In other words, it's not a transactional type of vibe that I get from them. It's more of like, oh, I'm opening myself up to the world, basically. Whoever runs into this video, I'm opening my mind and allowing the world to explore a bit of my mind. And I have found some YouTubers that are like that, and I really admire that. And I guess I'm doing this for myself, right? And also to practice this idea of not being afraid to speak my mind. To break that illusion that what I have to say is stupid. Okay. Stupidity, intelligence, all of these concepts are just illusions, right? And I'm not saying, in the society that we live in, we have certain rules. And the truth is, all of these rules that have ever been created have been created by humans, by each other, right? So they're all illusions. But in the society that we live in this game we play in, we have certain rules. And depending on the part of the world that you're in, the corner of the world that you find yourself in, your culture, your traditions, whatever it is, what is intelligent to you or what is considered intelligent to you may not be considered intelligent to a different culture, or people living on a different part of the planet, or some other geographic region. I don't know, but it's all subjective. But depending on your upbringing and depending on your culture and your traditions and where you grew up in and what your influences were as a child, that will create your own subjective idea of what intelligence means or what stupidity means and what evil is and what goodness is, right? So you'll have all of these ideas depending on where you're from and your upbringing and all of that stuff. But so I'm coming at it. So this is why I'm saying all of this. I'm coming at this from my own experience and from my own corner of the world and my upbringing and my influences as a child. Okay, so this is completely subjective. But in my society, in the society that I've grown up in the society that I live in this, what they call the Western world, right? Intelligence is defined as anything that is innovative and that can make you money, right? Everything is about, in the end, all of these intelligent individuals like quote unquote Elon Musk or the people that are considered intelligent in this country are, and right now I'm in Spain, but my country of origin is the US. The people that are considered intelligent in the US are people that have been able to make a lot of money or have found a way to make money quick or did some kind of scheme that made them billionaires or whatever it is. That's what's considered intelligent. Being able to have the highest status, have the biggest car, have the biggest house, like being able to finally have that economic gain. If you have a pretty high economic status, you're considered intelligent in my society because that's what we value. So if you have a high economic status, that means you're smart with your money. That's what it implies, right? So in this society that I live in, money is having a lot of money makes you intelligent, apparently. And basically being poor or not having a high economic status, the poor are usually considered unintelligent. And in this society, anything that is anything that does not have, is not considered a high status thing, is considered unintelligent. this all makes sense. Because I feel like I'm rambling now. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that the society that I grew up in, to summarize everything that I was talking about being confident of speaking your mind, in the society that I grew up in, I felt like I could only speak up on issues that would bring some kind of, maybe not, because I've never been in the business world, like the financial world, so I've never had a job in that sector, but something that can, I work in white collar, so if I was to contribute to something, is that if I was to say something about anything, about a project or X, Y, and Z, it had to be something that would gain or help the company gain in profit or whatever it was, or reach a higher status, reach more efficiency. I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm just trying to become more confident in what I have to say, even though it may be considered stupid to some people. It may resonate with others. I'm not going to say that what I have to say is intelligent in any way, shape, or form, because that is so subjective. And it would be very pretentious of me to think that, and there's no point of being called intelligent. You're not going to get a prize at the end of your life like, oh, wow, you were so intelligent, because we're all going to die, and who knows what happens in the next lifetime, or if there's another lifetime. I have my own theories of that, but nobody's going to get like a special prize in the end. We're all going that same direction. It seems like death is that direction, right? And what happens afterwards or what doesn't happen afterwards is completely subjective, or is completely up to the person's belief system. So there's no point, in my opinion, to feel like you need to be perceived as intelligent by others, because in the end, this is a quest about finding ourselves, or at least that's what I believe in. Like remembering ourselves, not really finding, but remembering. And in this part of the game that we live in, there are a lot of obstacles that make us forget who we really are, and that this is a game. So there are a lot of just circumstances that happen in your life, personal, and the collective also experiences it sometimes, like things like climate change and, political events, things like that. The collective suffers, but also the individual has their own internal storm, their own turmoil, that makes us forget about who we really are, and that we're just playing this game for a short amount of time, and might as well enjoy it while we have it and try to make the best of it. Try to make the best of the cards you were given. Ultimately, yes, part of the game is progress. Part of the rules, from what I have perceived or from what I have learned, or this is just my opinion, I should say. Part of the rules of this game is to reach progress, reach some form of progress, like get better at something. But it's also made for us to remember. And I guess now I'm going to sound woo-woo and all of that stuff. That's fine. But I'm just trying to be more confident in sharing my ideas. So, to summarize this whole video, being able to listen is important. Opening yourself up to another person's mind is important, but it's also equally important to share your mind with others and allow others to receive your mind and receive the information. And you don't have to fear sharing your mind, or you don't have to fear the other person's opinion about what they like about your mind or what they don't like about what you have to say, things like that. You don't have that fear because you're confident within yourself that you have a right to speak your mind. You have a right to just speak your opinion in this lifetime. You have a right to be heard. And sometimes what you have to say isn't intelligent, or maybe it was wrong because you had the facts wrong. Okay, and then you listen to the other person's mind. And then you integrate that with your own learnings. And then you compare and contrast, and then you try and see things as objectively as possible, and your mind may change. And that's the beauty of this lifetime, that we have so many different perspectives that we consistently transition into, right? But this process of transitioning from perspective to eventually reach some form of progress, in order to have that transmutation of perspectives, we have to, yes, listen to another person's mind. Yes, receive that other person's information, but also speak your mind and say what you have to say. And then if the other person, for example, if you're having a debate with somebody, right, maybe your perspective is wrong, factually, right? Maybe you had the facts wrong, or whatever it is, it happens. And the other person says, well, in this study, actually, this and this and this happened. And you receive the information, you research it, and then maybe your mind will change. Maybe you're like, yeah, that person is actually right. But that transmutation of perspective only occurred because you listened, you listened to the other person, and you spoke out. And then the other person spoke and shared their mind, and there's this back and forth. There's kind of like this lovemaking happening, even though that's sometimes conversations get heated. I know I need some water. So even though sometimes conversations get heated, sometimes this alchemy of changing an illusion to truth, sometimes there has to be a bit of boat rocking in order for that transmutation to happen. But anyway, I feel like I'm talking gibberish right now because I need water. So anyway, I'm just going to make this short, and it's not a short video, but I hope you have a good day in your corner of the world, and I hope you listen, but also not the perfect timing. You also are able to speak your mind confidently. Peace and love. Bye.